Chinese e-commerce giants Shein and Temu are likely to see their sales in the United States crash as of May 2nd, given that the U.S. government has announced the elimination of the de minimis exemption, which previously allowed duty-free imports under $800. At least 60% of all the packages that came to the U.S. under de minimis were from China in 2024. Chinese computer giant Lenovo has started to pause shipments of PCs to the United States. In North America, Tesla's production plans are getting disrupted by tariffs on Chinese parts, while Apple's reliance on Chinese manufacturing threatens its very survival. Other critical industries in the United States, such as defense, EVs, and medical device manufacturing, face the impact of China's ban on the export of rare earth minerals. Microsoft's Xbox gaming consoles, which are mostly made in China, won't be spared either, at least for now. Even non-Chinese, non-US companies are contemplating the void. Almost 90% of gaming consoles sold in the US by Sony and Nintendo are shipped in from China. Wars of attrition rarely produce winners, and the signs of recession are starting to show. Both China and the United States were already staring at significant challenges before the first shots of the current trade war were fired. China's structural issues are, in my opinion, significantly more worrisome, but America's are also colossal. The one-child policy irreparably damaged China's demographic structure. Countries with older populations such as Korea, Japan, Germany, and China depend on exports to sustain employment and government spending. Older people simply consume much less. They rarely spend on baby care or buy homes, new cars, new furniture, sports merch, or the latest tech gadgets. Old people don't go to nightclubs, concerts, or fancy restaurants. Most of their income, if they even have one, is spent on medication, doctor's appointments, and the most basic necessities. A consumer economy like the one in the United States is nearly impossible in a society where a sizable segment of the population is old. The demographic problem is by far China's biggest Achilles heel. Add to this industrial overcapacity, a real estate crisis, and fast-rising debt. Despite efforts, China will have a hard time trying to boost its consumer spending to levels that would offset the reduction of exports to the United States. China does have things going for it. It has foreign currency reserves that exceed $3 trillion. It dominates growing industries such as EVs, solar panels, and 5G technology. They are also making rapid progress in areas like AI, robotics, and semiconductors. China also controls most of the world's mining and processing of rare earth minerals, a weapon that they've not been afraid to use from the earliest stages of the current trade war. Moreover, as we explained in a previous video, China has diversified its export markets away from the U.S. As of 2024, the U.S. represented 14% of China's exports. Back in the early 2000s, that number was around 25%. In that earlier video, we showed that even U.S. allies such as Japan and South Korea sell more to China than they do to the United States. Vietnam, a country to which America had grown closer over the past decades as a way to counter the rise of China, has recently been warming up to China. But the elephant in the room remains. If China is struggling to make the Chinese people consume more of her domestic production, then how is she going to significantly increase her consumption of foreign goods? The Trump administration's current hostility towards America's traditional allies certainly creates an opportunity for China. But unless China can also buy what these countries have to offer, its negotiating tools remain limited. In 2024, China's overall trade surplus almost touched $1 trillion. 30% of this surplus is represented by the United States. After the dispute started, reports indicate that in the first weeks of April, cargo activity in Chinese ports dropped by 9.7%. When we move to the early effects in the United States, we'll see developments that indicate that cracks are beginning to show there too. In April 2025, U.S. consumer sentiment experienced a significant decline, reflecting heightened concerns over economic conditions and inflation. The University of Michigan's preliminary report indicates that the Consumer Sentiment Index fell to 50.8, down from 57.0 in March, marking the fourth consecutive month of decline and one of the steepest drops historically. Government finances are also problematic. According to private estimates, $9.2 trillion of U.S. government debt will mature or need refinancing in 2025, representing 25.4% of the total $36.2 trillion debt. The federal government really needs a stable bond market, and to signal that the government actually has a solid economic plan. However, a number of tariff exemptions have signaled that, when it came to it, the administration did effectively shoot first and ask questions later. Apple will temporarily benefit from a 90-day exemption on tariffs for smartphones and laptops, providing short-term relief. However, the company's reliance on Chinese manufacturing remains a vulnerability. The potential for future tariffs and the push for domestic production in the U.S. pose significant challenges to Apple's supply chain stability and cost structure. The temporary exemption might also affect the administration politically, as the general public begins to feel the pain of the tariffs. Many have started to argue that exemptions are being made in order to protect billionaires and their interests, while others who are unable to lobby the way billionaires do will be left out in the cold. The Wall Street Journal's editorial board wrote an opinion piece which stated the following, quote, "It's good to be Apple's Tim Cook, but not to be a small manufacturer that can't afford a K Street lobbyist. Tariffs are advertised in the name of helping American workers, but what do you know? They turn out to favor the powerful and politically connected." That's the main message of President Trump's decision to exempt smartphones and assorted electronic goods from his most onerous tariffs. Unquote. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said the decision to exempt a range of electronic devices from tariffs implemented earlier this month was only temporary, announcing that those items would be subject to semiconductor tariffs that will likely come in a month or two. Whether the exemptions were a measure taken in order to prevent the loss of jobs in the United States, a veiled capitulation, or a political favor to the powerful, is not entirely clear. However, we can expect the Democrats to present them to the public in a negative light as the pain from the coming recession becomes harder to stomach. Someone who's a power figure in the Trump administration is Elon Musk, yet his firm Tesla hasn't received any direct exemptions as of the date of the publication of this video. Tesla faces mounting pressures due to increased tariffs on Chinese imports. The company's U.S. production plans, particularly for models like the Cybercab and Semi, are disrupted by tariffs on Chinese parts, leading to potential delays and increased manufacturing costs. Additionally, China's retaliatory tariffs, ranging from 84% to 125% on U.S. goods, further complicate Tesla's operations and profitability. There are those who claim that the latest exemptions do benefit Tesla vehicles, which rely more heavily on electronics and semiconductors exempted from the tariffs. An article in the magazine Barron's argues that this would give Tesla an advantage over combustion engine car makers, which are getting very little respite when it comes to importing parts. Rumor has it that Trump is also considering pausing tariffs on those too. As new measures, countermeasures, reversals, and exemptions are announced practically on a daily basis, consumers and businesses struggle to navigate the current environment. The trade war is barely getting started. This is Latinometry. Please like and share this video, and thanks for watching.